panel display, and then there was the ASUS display, and they were pretty much the same size. They were some of the largest displays at Computex. All the gaming peripherals and the gaming stuff, they've got a partnership with InWin. So they partnered with InWin to do their own version, like their own ROG version, I guess, of the H-Tower. They plan to mass produce that with InWin. And if you didn't see that, this is the case that, you know, you hit the button and then it basically transforms and the motherboard tray sort of opens up and then you can sort of see the inside of your computer. They had a setup for this and talked to the guys like, oh yeah, we're thinking about mass producing this. It could be pretty nuts. And it's InWin's case, but you know, of course it was outfitted with all the high-end ASUS ROG gear. So it's pretty interesting. ASUS was also showing off the Zenfone 2. They had a pretty large display set up for their line of phones. They had the Zenfone Selfie, the Zenfone 2, and some of their other Zen portable tablet stuff that they've been working on. And so there were a lot of people playing with that stuff. We just did a review on the Zenfone 2, so if you want to check that out, be sure to go check out our full review on the Zenfone 2. It's a sort of a flagship level phone, but at a very low price point. And so it's actually quite an interesting product. They also had an all-in-one computer that's sort of in their Zen line that's styled very much after an iMac. So if you were looking for a PC that looks like an iMac, now you've got it. If Apple was upset about Samsung copying, you know, rounded corners, I'm pretty sure that Apple's going to go nuclear now, but you know, check that out if that's what you're into and have a look at it. I did notice that it did have USB 3.1C, so it's got all the latest technology in it, 32 gigabytes of RAM, 960M graphics, all in one PC, so 24-inch give or take. So it was pretty neat if you're into that kind of thing. Aluminum, of course. There were micro projectors and more custom cases, like custom builds. They had, you know, all the custom builds that people had done with the X99 platform and some of their X99 products. That was really neat to see. They were also showing off the two FreeSync monitors that we've seen before. That was, I think, the MG278Q and the MG279Q. That's an IPS and a TN version of the same monitor, respectively. We've seen those monitors before, but they were at Computex because they're getting ready to go on sale, I guess. So if you're looking for a FreeSync monitor that's TN or IPS from ASUS, well, there you go. They also had the Strix 980 Ti, and that's what I got the most footage of. They were showing off water blocks for those specific cards from Thermaltake, EK, and Bits Power as well. And those are water blocks designed especially for this card. Now, the big change with the Strix 980 Ti from ASUS is they've, you know, sort of done their own design, and the big change on their own design is the power delivery system. In the reference power delivery system, there are through-hole components, meaning that there are components that are soldered through a hole in the printed circuit board, but ASUS has eschewed all that and gone for surface mount components. What that means is that they can completely automate the assembly process. A lot of the time the through-hole components are placed and soldered by hand first before it goes through an oven, either the first step in the process or the last step in the process. This completely eliminates that so that they can have completely automated assembly, but the lack of having to have all those holes in the printed circuit board means that the printed circuit board is stiffer and stronger, but they can also mount a metal backplate closer to the PCB because now it's all surface mount components. You don't have those clearances that you would with componentry that's sort of soldered through the printed circuit board. So that was really nice to see. It was nice to sort of see and get my hands on the 980 Ti and sort of play with it and sort of lust after it. Hopefully we can get some of these products in the lab and actually play with them. I'd love to be able to review the monitors, put it through its paces, see what the frame latency is, see what kind of input latency we're dealing with. I'm sure it's top shelf, but it's always fun to get your hands on it and play with it. This is just what they previewed at Computex. All right, I'm here at Bitfenix with Zasha, and we're going to take a look at some new and exciting stuff they got coming up. Now, none of this stuff is out yet, so what we're going to have in the video is not final. So if you see something and it's like, oh, blah, 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 no, Computex is about previewing stuff. It's not about reviewing stuff. Get it right. So you guys may remember we looked at the Pandora Micro ATX. We did that build with the EVGA X99. That turned out really well. Turns out it's a really popular seller, so they've been working on an ATX version of that as well. I'm going to let Zasha fill in the details.
All right, so basically we try to keep the Pandora Micro ATX as small as possible, as low as possible, as slim as possible. And then a lot of you guys came back to us and said, hey, we love the design, but you know, we'd love to be able to fit an ATX motherboard in there, high-end hardware, several VGAs, and have more cable management space. So we did the Pandora ATX, and we kept the same design. It looks really nice. You have 360 at the top, 360 in the front, and we dropped the brushed aluminum side panels. Instead, it's just plain steel side panels, which allowed us to keep the price at the same price point though. So this is gonna be like $100, which is pretty cool, you know, and it looks really, really nice. We're gonna change it a little bit. There's gonna be 4 USB ports in the front, not 2. fine-tune a little other stuff as well.
Yeah, we're gonna. I think that you guys are gonna update the cable management as well.
Right.
And we're gonna be taking a look at another case that has some more USB 3.1 features, which will be a big deal in the next generation of cases. So this has actually worked out really well. I like the steel finish on the prototype. It actually works out really well.
Yeah, there were actually some people here who said they like this more than the brushed aluminum. So it's really. There's actually some people that came over and said they like this more than the brushed aluminum. It's really a personal thing, yeah.
All right, cool. So that's the Pandora Atx. What do we got next on the menu?
The next one is the Nova. For those of you who know our Comrade cases, our budget entry-level cases, this is basically going to be a little bit cheaper than those, even cheaper. We're going to drop the ODD hard drive and SSD toolless. Instead, you're going to have to screw them in. But for system integrators, this is great. And if you really want a budget build, you don't really care about something like toolless hard drive trays. So you can have a really, really nice budget build with this one. In Europe, it's going to be around 32 euros. In the US, the MSRP is always a bit higher, but yeah, it's going to be around 40, 45 bucks on promotions.
And so this case will actually support a 320 millimeter graphics adapter. It's got four 3.5-inch slots, and right now one 2.5-inch slot, but that may change depending on
what we do later. Yeah, we're still fine-tuning the Harddrive Cage a little bit and the airflow from the front. You can see this is all closed right now, so this is just a mock-up. We're going to open it up for airflow. There's 2 fans in the front.
All right, so this is the Bitfenix Atlas. So is it holding up the world?
That's a bit of a deja vu for some of you, I think. You've seen the Atlas before. We showed the concept last year. It was really, really big back then. It was taller, wider, and deeper. The previous one, the concept, we had quad 360s in there at the same time in push-pull 60 millimeter. So really, really crazy. Shipping costs and manufacturing costs would have been crazy, so we went back and made it a little bit smaller. You can still put thick 360s in the front, both sides. You can put slim 360s at the top. And yeah, it has USB 3.0, 2 of them, then 3.1 A-type and 3.1 C-type at the top.
Okay, let's crack the side open because the features that really struck me on this case are internal, or at least what's going to be in the case.
Right, so since there's plenty of fan spaces in this case, we added a fan hub, which basically repeats the PWM signal from the motherboard. So you'll notice that the fans are actually 3-pin. So it reads the PWM signal from the CPU fan header and translates it into voltage signals for the 3-pin fans. So whenever your CPU fan is spinning up, or would be spinning up, all fans are spinning up. So that way you can use the motherboard software, fan speed software to control all the fans in the system.
So what that means is we've got the 4-pin fan header that's actually going into the input board, and then that's actually going out to the case fans, which are cheaper 3-pin fans.
Right, right. And another thing is we have a completely toolless hard drive cage. So you can see there's some rubber padding here that holds all the hard drives in place, absorbs all the vibrations and noise. And you have steel trays here with some rubber pads. We just drop the hard drive right in. You can screw it in if you want to, but you don't have to. You can just slide in the tray like this, and you close it, connect the cables here, and off you go.
All right, cool. Can you show us that with the mechanical hard drive? The cables will be at the back, so they'll be really good for cable management. There's kind of plenty of room there for the cabling, but can you pull the sled that has the mechanical hard drive?
Sure. So you can see that the cables are on this side, so it's right next to the motherboard tray. So you can hide the cables really well or tie them to the motherboard tray.
So it turns out that the modularity of this case is that you've got the 2 sides, but you can actually flip which thing is on what side.
Right, so we modified the chamber system a little bit. You can see there are some thumb screws at the top and at the bottom. Those hold the chambers in place, and these screws hold the rails in place. So there's some nice aluminum handles here to pull out the whole motherboard tray. You see that it's really wide, so you can even install a CPU cooler on it and pull the tray out and move it back in. And you can pull both trays out, move the rails over, and then invert the whole thing and put it back inside. So you can have the motherboard upside down, BTX style. You can have it on the left side of your system. So if you're sitting on the right side of your desk, you can have Atlas on your left side and look at the motherboard, look at the VGAs.
That's really awesome. So no matter what your desk configuration is, you can flip around the case and always be able to get to the expansion or whatever without having to move the case away from the wall or whatever your particular setup is. What about the dust filters?
Right, there's going to be dust filters right here at the top, and you can just pull them out like this, rinse them, dry them, and put them back inside. So
what about the front?
In the front, it's the same system, but towards the back. So you just pull it towards the front of the desk, and you can pull it out at the front towards the bottom and slide it back in.
Awesome. So dust filtering, modularity, that's the name of the game with the next generation of Bitfenix cases.
Right, pretty much.
Awesome. All right, and then we've got one more product. Would you say that that's the flagship product or a favorite product?
Well, it's my favorite, my show favorite for sure. Our LED strips are now magnetic. So you can just drop them wherever you want in your case. They'll just stick, they'll attach, they won't fall off after some time, as it is with sticky LED tapes, the sticky tape strips. They sometimes come off, or if you want to relocate them or move them somewhere else, they don't stick that well anymore, or they fall down. These are fully magnetic, really powerful magnets. So you can move them around, or if you do several builds, whenever you do a new build, you just move the LED strips to the new build. So you can use them over and over. Orange was not really popular for us, so we replaced orange with purple, trying a new color. It looks pretty cool. We have a build over there. And the green, we fine-tuned the green to match the GeForce GTX on the high-end NVIDIA VGA, so it's exactly the same green now.
Okay, so if you're building a crazy NVIDIA build and you want everything to be blinged out with the NVIDIA green, you can totally do it?
Right, or if you want to do a Razer themed build as well, you know, a lot of brands are using this aggressive neon green.
Yeah, not to make the AMD folks feel left out, they can do all the red stuff as well, so that'll work really well with what he's talking about.
Right, we have red, blue, purple, green, and white.
All right, cool. Well, thanks very much.
Thanks for stopping by.
Oh, no problem. Glad to do it.